Arnold Schwarzenegger is sitting on the shoulders of Lisa Lyon, who was a bodybuilder and would later be a Playboy star. This was in the United States in 1979. Rope beds were a cheap but miserable way to spend the night in a doss house. In 1995, a Sri Lanka Air Force aircraft bombed the Nagarkovil Maha Vidyalayam schoolyard. It was packed with 750 children on their lunch break. More than 30 people were killed and another 150 were injured. A member of the New York police force hangs from a girder, 1920. Gun 1, New York, 1954. William Klein asked two boys on Upper Broadway to pose. One pointed a gun at the camera, his face erupting with rage. On March 26, 1964, the decade's two most prominent civil rights leaders shared their only meeting. Ethnic German settlers are shown their new property in annexed Poland after the German invasion. This was part of the Heim ins Reich policy. That happened in November of 1939. A Douglas SBD Dauntless dive bomber balances on its nose after crash landing on a carrier flight deck in the Pacific, 1943. Gay Jewell was declared the world's heaviest man in 1899. A Union Army soldier, he barely survived the Andersonville prison after wasting away from hunger during the U.S. Civil War. He was eventually released in May 1865. The year is 1940. The first-generation Union Pacific G-Tel and a then 30-year-old Detroit Electric Brougham are in Fremont, Nebraska in 1953. There's an American man dressed like Hitler. He's protesting the visit of Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev to the United States. This was in September 1960. Lost, London, Chinatown, Limehouse, London, 1927. There's a Nazi guard, Jenny Wanda Barkman, standing in front of a pile of shoes at the Stutthof concentration camp. These are more creepy Victorian Santa Clauses from around the 1900s. Chamorro kids are playing with an abandoned Imperial Japanese Army helmet and a gas mask on Guam sometime after the U.S. military drove the Japanese off the island in July 1945. A German soldier's looking at a magazine. This is what the guys at the front really wanted in the mail during World War II. It's a Wedding at the Heights, 1946. The first icebreaker was built in 1898 in the shipyard of Sir W. G. Armstrong, Whitworth and Cumers Limited in England. It was originally named Yermak after the legendary Siberian Cossack. The icebreaker weighed about 5,000 tons. Two women from the Irish Republican Army are frisking a man against a wall that has the graffiti "Brits Out" on it. This is in Belfast during the 1970s. All right, let's see. Dutch girls are escorting American soldiers to a dance after World War II. Jetpack, Virginia, 1969. The investigation committee examines the wreckage of the Hindenburg in a New Jersey field on May 8, 1937. The world's first gym machine, Stockholm, 1892. The Gaz TR Aero, which was produced in 1954. Diana comforts Sir Elton John at the wake of the late Gianni Versace in 1997. Death to the bourgeoisie and its lapdogs. Long live the Red Terror. Soviet-Russian protest, supporting violence against class and political opponents in Petrograd, 1918. Grounded. April 9, 1953. Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Civil Defense Air Raid Drill, Highland View School. Freak Show. State Fair in Rutland, Vermont, September 1941. (1925) Rolls-Royce Phantom Coupe. 1935 modified edition with extravagant bodywork created by Henry and Joseph Jonquier. It was a skirmish between local Poles and Germans during the Second Silesian Uprising in August of 1920. Traffic on London Bridge, 1890. Second Class Saloon, Nome, Alaska, July 1st, 1901. Drinking Japanese Coca-Cola in strange glasses, 1966. A young man and woman are on a date. The girl wears a dress and the boy wears a jacket. The United States, the Great Depression, 1930. It's 1917, and there are suffragettes at the White House. Mayor Bernie Sanders picks up trash on his own in a public park after being elected in 1981, his first electoral victory. Billy and Benny McCrary were the heaviest twins in the world. They weighed 336 and 327 kilograms in 1978. Before the advent of the computer program AutoCAD, urban planning involved a different set of tools. Architects and planners relied on drafting tables. They used pencils, pens, and various other instruments to draw plans by hand. They would also work with physical models to help visualize their designs. These were typically crafted from materials such as wood or cardboard. This method was the standard for decades, prior to the 1980s. A warehouse of steel floats for anti-submarine nets, 1953. British soldiers are putting some ammunition into a pack to be carried by a military dog named Mark. The year is 1941. A police officer and his dog are riding a motorcycle circa 1930. German Red Cross workers are attending to a wounded soldier. He was found by a sniffing dog near Soissons, France during World War I. The year was 1918. It was the 1980s, and calling home from the dorms was a whole thing. You had to walk down the hall, usually to a communal phone. There was a phone, and that was it. No cell phones, of course. It could cost a quarter or maybe even 50 cents to make a call. You'd find yourself with a handful of change, hoping you had enough. And sometimes someone was already on the phone, so you'd have to wait. Police officers and detectives standing in front of the Yongcheon Police Station's Dichang branch in South Korea during the 1960s. Fred Rogers, 1946. Adolf Hitler rehearsing his speeches in front of a mirror back in 1925. Formal portraits usually didn't show people smiling, but you can find smiles in photographs of daily life from that time. This one is from South Carolina in 1912. Muhammad Ali, who was 24, is flirting with his future wife, Belinda Boyd, who was 16, at a bakery shop in Chicago. They got married a year later in 1967. In 1925, German youths wear bike tires that have been changed into swimming aids. They sent a Valentine tank with the inscription Stalin to the USSR under the Lend-Lease program. This happened on September 22, 1941 in Birmingham. Somewhere in San Francisco around 1919, a woman is getting out of a Marmon limousine. At first glance you might think this is all about the car, until you notice the pedestrian wearing an influenza face mask. It's 1917, and we're at the Harley-Davidson School for Motorcycle Mechanics. Che Guevara is enjoying a drink. The Nash Air Flight. It was the first sleeper car, dating back to 1949. The year was 1952. The mouse utopia experiment called Universe 25 was about to turn into an apocalypse. There's a couple of Victorian travelers looking rather dandy. This was taken around the 1890s. Winter in New York, 1960. (1890). Students are participating in a mock election at Beach Street Industrial School in New York City. There are 3 female students outside the school. It's a story about a Highland New Guinean's reaction to seeing a white person for the very first time in his life in 1930. Before this, they believed they were the only people alive in the world. Students protested and marched from the Sydney Opera House to Parliament House in Sydney after the resignation of architect Jorn Utzon. This happened on March 3, 1966. Greece, 1903. Shepherds on the top of Parnassus. The wing markings are on an Army carrier pigeon. This was for the U.S. Army Signal Corps in 1918. A jubilant American soldier hugs a motherly English woman. Victory smiles light the faces of happy servicemen and civilians at Piccadilly Circus, London, celebrating Germany's unconditional surrender in 1945. On August 9, 1974, United States President Richard Nixon held his resignation speech. Elton John, The Muppet Show, Elstree Studios, England. Imagine Niagara Falls completely frozen over in 1883. This is a picture of Louis Lumiere's daughter with her dolls. The photo was taken in 1913. The famous American wartime photograph, The 1,000-Yard Stare, features a worn-out 19-year-old United States Marine private, Theodore J. Miller. The photo was taken in February 1944 after 2 days of continuous fighting at the Battle of Eniwetok. In 1923, they were holding horse races in New York. During the race, one of the jockeys, a guy named Frank Hayes, had a heart attack, but his horse still came in first, even with the dead body of the jockey on its back. If going much further, please take one. Typical Aussie humor is reflected in this sign erected on the El Alamein Road by Australian troops on September 14, 1942. El Chispas Robot, Spain in 1953. Adolf Hitler in Paris, June 23, 1940. A cafe owner sells tea in the street during the London Blitz from 1940 to 1941. All right, so we've got people playing cards in the back of a car. This was sometime in the 1950s. Four daughters with their mother Alexandra in 1913. Gladys Roy walks the wings of a Curtiss JN-4 Jenny biplane over Los Angeles while blindfolded, 1924. Artists Walter and Margaret Keane are working on portraits of actress Natalie Wood in 1960. Winston Churchill is being carried from a nursing home after being hit by a car in New York City in 1931. The boys are fooling around. Mildred and Richard Loving sit with their children, posed by the steps of their home in Virginia. This was after they returned to the state following their victory in the case of Loving versus Virginia in 1967. Here's what I've got. German kids are playing with worthless cash in 1923. Listening to the Birds, 1885. In 1953, the Academy Awards were televised for the very first time. Here's a picture that shows how that looked like behind the scenes. Bichonade in Flight, Paris, 1905. Before airships had pilot cabins, England, 1917. The Great Gamma, also known as Ghulam Mohammad Bakhsh Butt, was a Pelwani wrestler in British India and a strongman. In the early 20th century, he was an undefeated wrestling champion of the world in 1910. A chemical tank fell off a plane over Oklahoma during a flight in 1971. The monster sunfish was caught by W.N. Macmillan of East Africa at Santa Catalina Island, California on April 1, 1910. South African riot police are playing soccer with youths in Nyanga Township, Western Cape Province. This happened on the 27th of August, 1976. Girls are playing jump rope in Chicago, 1950. Edward Boucher became the first African American to earn a PhD in the U.S. when he completed his dissertation in physics at Yale in 1876. Chris Southcombe, the Guinness Book of Records title holder, could even drink pints while standing upside down, back in March of 1971. July 1939. It's the tent home of a family living in a community camp. The location is Oklahoma City. June 24, 1916. There was a police show at Sheepshead Bay Speedway, featuring the rescue of a woman from a runaway horse. It was a benefit for widows and orphans of the men whose names were carried on the honor roll. The crew members of the B-29 Superfortress Enola Gay are on parade in 1945. The smallest member of the Royal Navy with his pals, 1941. Eleanor Roosevelt, the former First Lady of the United States, is holding the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. She helped create this document for the United Nations back in 1949. December 1910. Young boys are at work at the troughs used for cleaning coal at a pit in Bargoed, South Wales. A woman from the Democratic Republic of the Congo's Mangbetu tribe is holding her child, around 1929 to 1937.